We are live.
Welcome back to the Lost Together podcast. I'm Joe, and this is still, after a long absence, my attempt to convince Morgan that Lost is one of the greatest television shows ever written, produced, acted in, shot in Hawaii, and then delayed forever, the most recent episode of a podcast. So, a little bit of an explainer to kick off. So I know that we had to do a little bit of an explainer last time.
It's been real busy. It's been so busy.
We have been next level busy at the greenhouse. It is, I know that last time we just painted.
We painted.
Right. And then we got the couch. And then my work has been accelerated. So lots of stuff going on there. And had I gotten certification number 2 whenever we were?
No.
Oh, got another professional certification. I thought I did last time. Either way.
Maybe you did.
Yeah.
I don't remember.
And then,
I think you did, because you had talked about, I've been studying, and yeah.
And I'm studying again for a third one. The third one is the last one that's an option, basically. So maybe I'll get to rest after that. But it's been wild. And then we had, the plague and pestilence or whatever. And it just in our house, just like
snowstorm. Our kids, in the month of January, went to school a total of 6 days. I counted it. 6 days our 3 children went to school for the whole of January.
It's bananas. And then as a bonus, so you guys will love talking about my radiator fluid. And Morgan, for Valentine's Day, I know it's not Valentine's Day, but she always gives me my gifts early for everything. She can never wait till the event. She always gives me my gifts early. So this is like a neoprene sleeve. And it's got a pocket on it. It's got pockets, the ladies
and it's
like
got
to
a
say.
strap so he can carry it instead of, unga bunga gripping a whole ginormous water jug.
And it has a straw.
Well, it also has a guzzle top or whatever.
Well, so when I walk into my job, I park and walk a very long way to get to my desk. And I work out really early in the mornings, but my job is super cool about wanting everybody to be fit and healthy and all that. So on my lunch break, I'll go and walk on the treadmill. So I bring a change of clothes and all that because I get sweaty from hoofing it. And so walking into work, I've got my backpack with my laptop in it, another backpack with my workout clothes in it. I've got my lunchbox,
which is this tall.
My
lunchbox is huge.
It is mental, right? It is a tall lunchbox, but it's excellent. And then a gallon of water, basically, and coffee if I'm drinking coffee on the walk-in. So I'm just looking like I'm trying
He's moving. He came in the other day with all his crap and our youngest daughter's backpack, and he literally looked like he was about to go up Everest. Those
like
guys.
Sherpa.
A Sherpa, that's the word.
Yeah, getting ready to climb up Everest. And so that is super useful. I love we kind of always start these off with a little personal nugget, as if anybody cares whether or not
they don't. Actually, a lot of my podcasts that I listen to, I skip through all the personal stuff. I just want to hear the stories.
What's funny to me is that it's completely the opposite for me. I don't like when it sounds scripted. I like the funny stuff that's personable.
No, I'm here for stories. Tell me stories.
Well, here's the story. And we're just going to be totally transparent, admit to, sucking or whatever. But the day that
I think it was it a snow day that for some reason none of the kids were here?
Yeah, for whatever reason, we had an absolute ton of time on our hands.
I think we said this in the last episode.
But we didn't say how far we got.
We got a long way.
We got till the end of season 2. So we are just going to recap the rest of season 2 because we have been so insanely busy. We don't anticipate we're going to get a day like we had where we can lay around and veg for a long time. And it just caught fire. And
it was just the episode would end and we would look at each other you gonna do one more? You gonna do one more?
Yeah. And then it's kind of like when you because this is around this time of year, I always I do my weight loss in this part of the year, and so it's like when you eat something bad and you haven't been eating bad, and you go let's say it's chips or whatever, and you have one, You get the taste, and you go, "What's just one more?" You know, like you've had one. May as well have one more, right?
I'm like,
have another one.
I've messed up now. Might as well just do the whole bag.
I think you get to like 5 or 6 before you go, and then if it's ever me that's messing up like that, I'll get to the 5th one, and then for the last one, as I'm getting ready to put the bag up, I'll just shoot my hand down in there and get like a handful and cram them just like 5 or 6. Then and I'm like, okay, well I may as well just eat now. Like I'm just gonna pull this out and eat it.
That's what happened.
That is what we did, but with Lost.
We're very sorry.
We're very sorry.
We've broken our treaty. We've broken our sense of trust here. So
yeah, I mean, we are sorry, but we now get to watch what I think is the best season of Lost, which is season 3. And so we wanted to come on and recap the rest of season 2. And because there is so much to recap, and we're just going to do this as one episode.
Yeah.
We're not going to recap episode by episode by episode.
Yeah, we're just going to hit the highlights.
We're going to hit the highlights. We're going to discuss kind of our favorite stuff that happened in Lost Season 2. And then I want to try to... Where did we leave off last time?
Well, that's what I'm looking at. It was the Sawyer episode.
The Sawyer episode.
The Long Con. That was the last one that we talked about. We talked about Fire and Water, which was the Jen and Sun one, and then the Long Con.
Yep, Fire and Water and the Long Con. So then the next...
One of them, maternity leave, the whole truth, lockdown.
I think this works a little bit because one of them kicks off my favorite run on the show. And so, you know, one of them, the way we decided we're going to do this episode is I'm just going to kind of ask her to react to stuff that I remember from these episodes. And thankfully it does, this is like my favorite part of the series. So in one of them we meet my favorite character, who she doesn't actually know his real name yet, obviously, but Henry Gale. So we meet Henry Gale in a balloon.
I thought that was so yummy because like when he showed up, Joe was like, it gave me one of those, and he was like, "Do you get it? Do you get it?" The whole episode he's telling the story about like he came down in the balloon and his wife died and he was from Omaha or whatever, like just like Minnesota, whatever, one of those flyover BS places. Just kidding, love you Minnesota and Omaha. But
oh gosh, no.
Oh gosh, we came in and now we're on the island and we can't get off.
That would have been the dead giveaway for me. Is he said he's from Minnesota and no Minnesota accent. I mean,
well,
that Minnesota accent. If you guys are not familiar with the Minnesota accent, this is not political, right? But this is the most recent exposure anybody's had to that accent is back when we had our presidential election going on, and Tim Walz, the vice presidential candidate for the Democrats, was, I mean, exactly what you think of when you think of Minnesota, like just ridiculous sounding accent, and it's endearing. But it can be hard to understand. And it's just an awful lot of like, oh gosh, oh no, oh wow.
Yeah, oh.
Wow. Yeah, so.
Yeah. But, I mean, he was like, do you get it? Because it just did not dawn on me at all that was like a call to like, he's a liar. Because I didn't remember that Dorothy's uncle was named Henry Gale. I didn't remember that Dorothy's last name was Gale. And she came down in the balloon, duh. Like, freaking duh. But that whole episode, you know, they've got him locked in the armory. And Saeed tortures him. And the whole time he's like, do you think he deserves it? What do you think? And I was like, I don't know, I'm kind of buying it. I think he's telling the truth. Like, I think he's telling the truth. And then I can't remember who it was. It was like, take me to the balloon. Oh, it was, wasn't it Ana Lucia? Whatever.
Saeed.
She's like, take me to the balloon, or show me where it is, draw me the map, whatever. And there was a balloon, and then they dig up a body, and Henry Gale was a dude, but he's a big black guy, not the guy that's in the armory. So then I was like...
Well, and Saeed doesn't believe him specifically because he starts asking him about details of when he buried his wife.
Yeah, and he's like, you would remember exactly how many shovelfuls it was to bury your wife.
You would remember every shovelful. And I love you, but I think I probably wouldn't remember exactly the number of shovelfuls.
I wouldn't.
You know what I mean?
I would not.
Saeed being like a little dramatic here. It's like, I know he's hurting and stuff, but like
Desperately. But yeah. When we found out that Henry was not Henry Gale, I was like, oh my God. Because I completely bought it. I was like, man, they are torturing this poor guy for literally nothing.
What I liked, a highlight from that episode was, Saeed is then beating Henry. I'm trying not to say his real name. So he's then beating Henry in the room, and he locks himself in with him so that he can beat him and get information out of him. Locke and Jack are outside.
Locke's like, let us in.
Well, no, because...
Oh, it's Jack.
Yeah,
it's like,
Jack wants to get in. Mm-hmm. Locke won't let him in. Mm-hmm. And so then Locke is keeping Jack is keeping Locke from going and entering the numbers.
Yes.
Which, those numbers are holding everybody hostage. Like, remember Michael was like, I'll shoot your computer, right?
Mm-hmm. And then they're like, no.
And then Locke is like, Jack's like, you are not getting out of this room without putting the combination in. Mm-hmm. So like that, he ends up having to put the combination in. Oh, and he tries to tell Jack the combination. He's like, you think I'm stupid? Like,
yeah.
Go put the numbers in.
Yeah, no. Nice try.
Oh, so that was good.
Mm-hmm. That was a good episode.
He had just barely made it, and then that was the first episode where the Egyptian hieroglyphics showed up on the...
Yeah, is that when the doors came down?
No, that's later.
Okay.
He sees a brief glimpse of it whenever he just almost misses.
Oh yeah, that's right. He's like literally like 0.02 seconds from the timer, and they all turn red, and it's like the bird and the water and whatever. Yeah, you're right.
And then as they're so he gets in, he pulls Saeed out of there, and the camera stays on Henry, who's just staring out the door.
Well, you would, as you just got your ass whooped. I mean...
Yeah, I think you might lay down instead of, like, staring out the door at the person who was beating you. Like,
I don't know. I think you probably would be in shock, and you just sit there and just go like, wow, that really just happened to me. I didn't think that was an odd... an odd reaction. I really didn't. I was like, wow, he's in shock. This poor innocent man is in shock.
Saeed's on the beach talking and saying that he doesn't think that... or he doesn't feel guilty for what he did, so that's how he knows that. Like, so he just thinks intuitively. Like,
did he feel guilty when he tortured Sawyer?
Yes,
he did. He left.
He exiled
himself.
Yeah. Right. And then they also, that episode was where they had the side plot about the frog that was making noise and it was driving Sawyer crazy, and he had Hurley help him find it.
Yes.
Thoughts on that? I mean, that sucked, but
yeah, it was
like. All right, so
poor old Hurley.
So then we go to maternity leave.
This is the Ana Lucia backstory.
So it is it's when Aaron gets sick.
He's got that like measles rash or whatever.
Yeah, he starts getting a rash. He gets sick. Roseola. Claire starts remembering stuff, like getting injected with a needle.
Yes. And so she's like, the medicine for my baby is in the forest. I've got to go.
They're trying to hit my baby.
Yeah.
Right?
So her and Kate and somebody else. There's 3 of them. Rousseau.
Yeah.
They take off, and they find not the hatch, but this other medical area. They're like following Claire's broken up memories. They find the area. And then there's like flashbacks of when Claire was in there, and she literally had no idea what was going on. And she was like, yeah, you can have the baby. Yeah, because she's obviously like heavily drugged. And they've got this like weird nursery set up in there, but she thinks it's beautiful. And then there's a main guy. I'm sorry, this is so like a bad recap, but she like hears people talking outside the door, and it's like some man, and he's like, we gotta go or whatever. And so anyway, she has a memory of this beautiful curly headed young girl, late teens, that helps her out. And guess what? That's Danielle. Or no, Alex. I'm sorry. It's Alex.
Alex, yeah.
Yes. And I was like, yay, she's a good person. She's going to help. She's going to help Claire and the baby. So then she ends up telling Rousseau, like, hey, I don't know if this was your daughter, but I remember a girl that looks a lot like you, and she was very kind. And Rousseau was like, thank you. And then, they get there, and, like, everything's gone. All the medicine's gone. The nursery's gone. Everything is gone. It's completely cleared out. Claire flips the hell out.
Yeah, a standout thing for me from this episode actually is back in the armory when, because there's a thing that I love on TV shows that I like that happens in this episode, which is where a piece of art shows up in another piece of art. So like you're watching the TV show and they tell you about a book, or they talk about a book, or they talk about another movie or whatever. And the movie or book that they pick is never an accident. So there is a reason they picked that book. Mm-hmm. And in particular, Locke, I guess, feels bad for Henry and brings him a copy of the Fyodor Dostoevsky book, The Brothers Karamazov. So it is, now Dostoevsky is a tough read. I don't care who you are.
I can't even say the name. I'm sure
read.
It's really hard to read.
Yeah, he's the Crime and Punishment guy. So if you've ever seen Crime and Punishment, the book, it's massive. It's
I've never read it. Sounds like it would be a movie. I've not seen the movie either.
Well, the Brothers Karamazov, the main theme in the Brothers Karamazov is faith versus atheism.
My God, that's the whole show.
I know. That's what I'm saying. Like they could have given him any book.
Yeah, should have given him The Wizard of Oz. Be like, damn, I got some details wrong.
Yeah. So you've got the Brothers Karamazov, and the Brothers Karamazov. The main theme is faith versus atheism, and this is where we get the quote. Ben is just reading, and he's reading to Jack, and I think I put this on.
Did you say Ben?
Damn. Yeah, Ben.
Who's Ben?
Yeah.
Henry?
Henry, yeah. Is reading to Jack, and he reads the line, people love their martyrs. Hold on. People hate their prophets and slay them, but they love their martyrs, those whom they've slain. And then he says, so what's the difference between being a martyr and a prophet? And Jack says, either way, it sounds like you end up dead. And he says, he goes, that's the spirit, right? Just like it. But that, to me, is really telling that he read all the way through that book.
Or maybe he had already read it. Maybe he was very familiar.
And he found a line in that book talking about martyrs and prophets. And Jack and Locke, a martyr and a prophet, right? Mm-hmm. And it's just amazing I don't know. I really love that anytime it happens. And it's just
nugget.
because, Jack's a martyr for sure. Mm-hmm. And Locke is a prophet for sure. Mm-hmm. It just works out. So Mr. Echo also visits the bunker trying to figure out what's up. And then Jack agrees after Echo threatens to tell the rest of the camp. So Echo wants to talk to Henry, and he wants to talk to him about all the people that got killed or whatever in the tell section. But Mr. Echo doesn't really do much here. He just kind of mentions it. I
don't really remember a huge Echo portion there.
But being interested, essentially. Yeah. So that was that episode, and then we move to The Whole Truth, which is. So this, I believe, is this Sun episode where,
Oh yeah, this is where she tells him that she can't get pregnant. She's got endometriosis. The doctors tell him that. Well, the doctors tells Sun that she can't get pregnant because of endometriosis, and then Jen flips his shit out and storms out as if it's any woman's fault ever. What's wrong with her body? But, boo hiss on Jen on that one. But then Sun runs into the doctor later, and he was like, hey, just so you know, it wasn't you. And she was like, why then did you piss my husband off at me? And he was like, do you know who he works for? And she was like, yeah, idiot, my dad. And the doctor was like, I don't know what he would have done to me if I'd have told him the truth.
Yeah, and so that's the like off the island episode.
Mm-hmm.
This is one of those where I didn't love the like on the island stuff that was happening, because it was basically where, you know, Sun finds out she's pregnant. It's also where Jen like wrecks her garden again and all that. Starts pulling up the plants and stuff.
Yeah, because she's out there and he's worried that she's going to get kidnapped and
Othered
beaten again or whatever.
Yeah.
Othered. That's a good way to say it. Yeah, so he goes out there and completely fucks her garden up.
Yeah, she's going to get othered. He's
Yeah.
worried about it.
Which, I mean, yeah, sure, I get that. But, like, you're going to wreck her garden, you butthole. Why don't you just go out there with her? I mean,
Well, this is the episode where, like, Locke gets Ana Lucia. He talks to her. He's like, hey, you were a cop. Like, you should do an interrogation. Mm-hmm. You know, as if the torturer couldn't get it out of him. Maybe a cop can.
yeah, the communications expert.
Yeah. And so, you know, she goes in and talks to him, and, you know, sure enough, is like, hey, could you draw a map to the balloon? And if we find it, then
You're telling the truth.
You're telling the truth.
Yep.
And he goes, yep. And he draws the map.
And they do find it.
And they do find it.
Yep, and that's when they find the actual Henry
Henry
Gale,
Gale.
who is a black man. Not Henry in the armory.
Yes.
So she's like, oh, he's lying. Yeah, and I was like, oh no, I felt so bad for him. I really thought he was telling the truth.
They also give him some cereal. This is the episode where, before they're back from finding the balloon, they take Henry out, and Jack and Locke are sitting with him.
At the table.
And sitting at the table. And I can't remember what episode it is where he manipulates Locke into, like, throwing dishes around by saying...
You always let Jack talk to you that way?
You always let the doctor call the shots?
Wow,
Like,
is he like the leader here or whatever? Yeah, and Locke completely freaks out and breaks all that shit.
well, and Henry is a much better manipulator.
Oh, yeah.
Than the people that... Because he makes it seem like he's genuinely just like, oh, I'm sorry. Like, I just thought
and he's
Jack
sitting
was
around
the...
with a completely busted ass face. Like you just would feel sympathy for a person that looked that way, who's then like trying to have a conversation, vulnerable conversation. This is the most vulnerable person in the space right now. This man who's getting his ass whooped. He's been locked in a room for days and days. He is a vulnerable person.
Well, but then
he's sharing vulnerable things, but he's lying.
Well, then they take him out and they give him like a bowl of cereal, and he doesn't have milk, so he's like, he's just kind of eating on the cereal, and then he starts in that monologue like, how would I do this if I were one of them, right? And he's like, I guess I would send your people out into the woods and have an ambush waiting there for them, and there wouldn't be a balloon there. There would just be my people there waiting to take them and then bring them back to make a trade for me. Wouldn't that be crazy?
And then they're like, get your ass back in the armory.
And then he's like, you guys got any milk, right? And then they're like, get back in the armory, right? Like so
sinister.
Balls,
yeah,
right.
Yeah.
And but the thing is, at this point, you're watching it. You don't know, is this guy just weird? Like, is he really just a?
When I saw it, I thought like, oh well, he's sure that they're gonna kill him. Like at this point, you gotta whack that guy.
Yeah, and that's his excuse. He's like,
you're gonna kill me anyway. Whatever. Like you might as well play with their minds a little bit. If you're capable and they're gonna kill you, make them uncomfortable.
Needle them a little bit. You're gonna at least think about me after I go.
Mm-hmm.
So that was that episode. I loved that bit. I love the Henry Gale character. So
freaking Sun's pregnant. I'm like, damn, it's another baby on the island. This is the worst place to be pregnant, giving birth, having children of any age. This is not good. Unless they're like self-sufficient in some way, this is not a good time for y'all.
Yeah, there's also, like, the next episode is the one you were talking about earlier. It's called Lockdown.
That's where the doors come down on the legs.
Interestingly, do you remember what the off-island story is on this episode?
No.
It's a Locke story. Mm-hmm. Episode's called Locke.
Is this where shit goes down with Helen?
Yeah.
Yeah. Freaking Locke, man. He just cannot let go of that daddy.
All
He thinks
best
he's
cowboys
dead.
have daddy issues.
Yeah, I mean, his dad goes through this whole rigmarole to fake his death, and there's like these men hanging out, and Helen and Locke are like, "Do you see these?" When they're at the funeral, thinking dude's really dead, they see these guys in all black, like standing ominously by a headstone, and they're like, "That's weird." And then I can't remember how it comes to pass that Locke ends up in the hotel room with his dad. But his dad, like, asks him for some money or something.
No, he walks up on him in the street and he's like, "Hey, I need you to go to this bank and get this money for me. I can't walk in.
Yeah, it's
you can have some of it or whatever."
Yeah.
And
then meet me at this hotel. And then we're good. Oh, and Locke has, like, decided he's going to propose to Helen. They're going to be together forever. It's this beautiful moment. And then Locke and his dad are in the hotel room, and Helen knocks on the door. She's like, "Fuck you and your daddy. Keep your issues. I'm out." And then Locke, oh my God, she's like getting in the car
he proposes
right there, and I was like, oh my God. She's definitely not saying yes now. That is some.
I just never put it together until now. Lockdown is the name of the episode.
Because he's downed,
Yeah.
Get them legs cut. But yeah, so then his dad fucks off with all the money.
I was thinking emotionally down from the end of the episode.
I was thinking physically down.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. But yeah, so then dad jets off with the money, and then Locke is well and truly alone.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then he and Echo get in a standoff about the numbers. And Echo's like, "Let him run." And Locke's like, "No." Right? Is that this episode?
No.
No. Okay.
No, this is where the walls come down.
Right, but why?
Because it's just an alarm starts going off. It's just random. Yeah, it's random.
Okay, yeah. So then those blast doors come down and right in his legs. This poor man cannot get a break with his legs.
Yeah, and then no, it's not then that it happens, because he lets Henry out to help him, and they like wedge the door up, and then he's trying to slide under, and that's when it happens, right?
And there's all that crazy shit written on the door, this weird map with question marks, and so then he spends the next little bit trying to recreate the map from his mind, which would be so hard. Like, you're in intense physical pain. Although I wonder if that level of pain, if your brain would just shut it off.
Well, it would.
You
There's
go into shock or whatever.
Well,
I mean, he's screaming and hollering, so it must hurt.
it might sharpen it some, because your memory is actually slightly better when you're under duress. So like you take more in, because it's a defense mechanism. So
Mine's broken because my brain does not work that way.
So you can tell everybody beat by beat that time that you got real close to a bear with David.
Oh, yes.
Yeah, that's because the adrenaline is firing and you take in every piece of it. And when something really scary is happening and it feels like time slows down, that's like a time dilation effect that happens because your brain shuts off everything that's not taking in information to protect yourself and preparing your body to run or fight. So it's like one of those things has to happen, and you're taking in the information to determine whether it has to happen. So like all the scariest moments of your life, unfortunately, you remember them vividly, right? Because it's natural. So maybe because he was in so much pain, it would help him remember it.
Well, and then he's, this is the second time that his legs have gotten jacked up on this island. And he's like, "Not again."
Well, he also tells Henry to go
Put the numbers in. Henry absconds. Henry's gone.
Well, no. He
Oh, no, he does put the numbers in and he comes back.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's right.
Because he passes out. He falls off of like the baker's rack or whatever, and then passes out.
Is this when he tells Jack, like, "Will you let the doctor make all the shots?" Because now there's like a trust thing there.
No, it was earlier. It would have been earlier.
Sorry, this is really messy.
That's okay. Beginning of 1 minute countdown. The alarm stops.
You should bring the phone over here so that you're in the
Whirring
frame.
noise. Seconds later, black lights come on. Yep.
Yeah, there's a weird map on the door, and it's like, the shape reminded me of something, but I can't think of what it was. Almost like a atom or like a germ of some kind. It had like a nucleus and then all these spindly things going off of it.
That's funny. Yeah. Anyway. So they also, this is when Ana Lucia and them get back and they're like, hey, we found your balloon.
Yeah.
Right?
Henry.
Yeah. And then that's the end of the episode.
Yeah.
Imagine how happy they're, everybody who was certain that he was one of the others, he was like, I can told you, right? Mm-hmm. And they found Henry like, I knew it!
Check out this driver's license.
You don't look much like this guy, right? And so that's the end.
He's like, busted.
That's the end of that episode. And then we get to Dave, which the Dave episode this is a Hurley episode, so we kind of take a little bit of a break from everything. Mm-hmm. Well, there's a bit where Saeed interrogates Henry again, and this is where you kind of find out, like, it's where he blurts out, like, you don't know what he'll do, or whatever, and he's talking about, like, ostensibly the man, the leader of the others,
and it's a callback to like when Claire was having her flashbacks, and there were like these men outside the door, and they were talking about like him. It's whoever that guy is.
Yeah, and so, but this episode is the Hurley episode where he is, kind of getting closer to Libby.
God bless him.
And,
he's shooting his little shot.
And she's into it,
Yeah, she's into it.
And he, he tells her that he has an eating disorder and...
that's where she's like... she encourages him to, like, get rid of all the food and all that.
Yeah.
And then, that's when he gets rid of everything. It's like this major liberation moment, and then there's like an airdrop of a bunch of food, goldfish and bullshit, and he's like, "You're joking! You've got to be kidding me!"
No.
Yeah, he's like, "No." Bless him.
And then in his flashback is when he's got his friend Dave or whatever in the nut house, and he's like,
Dave doesn't talk. Oh, yeah, he does. Yes, he does. Yeah, he does.
He doesn't talk to anybody but Hurley.
Right, and he's like, we gotta get out of here, man. These guys are making you sick. And Dave, like, pulls a One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest and jumps out the window, and Hurley's like, I can't go, man. I can't go.
And Hurley closes the window.
Yes. And then come to find out, before all that, he sees Dave on the beach.
And chases him into the woods.
Yes, and then Dave's like, dude, what are you doing here? And Hurley's like, what are you doing here? And Dave's like, dude, you're still in the nut house. This is all a hallucination. Jump off this cliff with me and you'll wake up. Just come on, let's go. Hurley's like, no, this is real. Like, this is real, what I'm experiencing. And Dave's like, no, they've got you on that medicine, man. You're asleep. You're still in the institution. Jump, come on. And then he off the cliff, and Hurley almost does it. And is it Libby that shows up? And it's like, hello. And Hurley's like, did you see that guy? And Libby's like, what guy? Dave was never real. Dave was never real. And there you see flashbacks of Hurley and Dave at the table, and the doctor comes up and they do like one of these. And then in the flashback, it's just Hurley going like this to nobody. So he's like actually crazy. It made me so sad.
Yeah, well,
poor Hurley. He's having actual hallucinations of a real dude. He had a whole relationship with him.
Yeah. It made me really sad in the therapy session when he is talking to his therapist and he's had him write a bunch of stuff that he likes about himself, and he gets to the end and the therapist's like, that's great, and he said, I noticed there's nothing in there about how you look. And
he's got beautiful hair. He's got nice eyes.
Hurley.
He's got great skin. He's a nice dude. He's a little fluffy. Whatever. He's a good guy.
Listen, if he played,
he should love himself.
If he played a guitar, I'd be in a lot of trouble. Anyway.
Shut up. He's a good guy, and I felt, he was like about to launch himself off that cliff. It was in his brain he was going to go. And I was like, no, Because you keep telling me all these character deaths are going to happen and it's going to take me by surprise, and I'm not ready to lose Hurley. Especially a suicide. Jeez.
Well, the next episode's a little bit of a throwaway one. It's SOS. It's the Bernard and Rose meeting story.
Yeah.
And then they fuss and
They meet because her car is stuck in the snow, and he's like walking in his little metropolitan outfit, and he's like, you need some help? And she's like, no. And then he ends up helping her out, and then she's like, can I take you out for coffee? And I was like, you do it, Rose. You asked that man. Good for you.
Well, and he's building a giant SOS on the beach.
Yes.
And
he's trying so hard to mobilize everybody, and that's not his role. He's not a leader.
Well, it's not hitting. And then
No.
Rose explains to him eventually that
she's got pancreatic cancer or some
But
shit,
that
some
it's-
kind of terrible cancer, but it's gone now since she's been on the island. So she doesn't want to leave, and he's like, oh, well, then we're not going to leave. I'll stay here with you forever. Even if they show up, I'm going to stay with you. And I was like, and she went to some kind of bullshit shaman healer that he paid all kinds of money for at in the Australian bush or whatever.
is that really him staying with her? Is that really that remarkable?
I mean, it's his life too. He could be saved and go home.
I wouldn't go home. If you is that really
That's very sweet.
I would stay. Yeah. What would I be going home to?
Well, I don't know. Our kids.
That'd be grown, probably.
Yeah, whatever. They'll be fine. But,
I'm not going to come back without you. Can you imagine me telling grown Coraline, I left your mama on the island. Right.
she's not sick anymore.
She's not sick, so that's good, right?
Yeah.
And
there's a smoke monster out there, but
right.
it'll be fine.
I'm back.
Yay.
Right.
Yeah, but
Your mom's hitched up to a giant man who plays guitar and has curly hair and won the lottery one time.
And he's very near to jumping off a cliff with his invisible friend.
Yeah.
But no, he takes her to this shaman healer, and she's like, Bernard, I don't want to do this. And he's all pissed off, and he's like, you need to get better, and none of the medicine's working. You're going to go to this shaman guy. So she goes, and he's like a total quack, and she decides to tell him in that moment that it worked, and she's healed, and she was just going to die. And then the plane crashed, and now she is healed for real. So they vowed to stay on the island. So sweet.
Yeah. Also, Henry is taunting Locke in this episode by saying, when I went there the other day when you sent me for the numbers, I didn't enter anything in.
Evil man.
I didn't press anything. And then Locke in this episode is talking to him through the door please tell me if you put the numbers in. Please tell me if you put the numbers in.
He just doesn't say anything, does he?
Nope.
It's just radio silence, which, for Locke, I bet there's no better torture for that man.
Well, because I think that
And his legs are jacked up. He's hobbling around on those crutches, which just adds a layer of suffering.
Yeah, and at this point in the story, Henry is not impressed with Locke. The thing with Locke on this island is, he's got that thing of knives or whatever. He can throw the knives and he can hunt and all that. Mm-hmm. And he's, a sage. And people are,
trust him.
Trust him and are impressed by his abilities and stuff. Mm-hmm. And Henry does not seem phased and is like, oh, how come Jack's the boss or whatever? And is, mocking him and all that.
Yeah.
And that's a great part of this series, which I won't spoil, but...
He's a really great manipulator. He really is. That's so smart. That's so smart. Because it's not like Locke could open the door and fight him.
Listen, I was not to do therapist couch here for a second, but I was kind of a weak kid or whatever when I was a kid, and so the way that I was able to one up anybody was to be smarter than them. And so I just appreciated, especially just in this part and through the rest of the series, you'll have an even better idea why, that he is obviously physically weak.
Oh yeah,
Henry
he's a little mouse of a man.
But, I mean, it's also pretty clear at this point, that he's in pretty good control of his situation.
For sure.
And
Yeah.
but he's in a prison cell.
Yeah, I
but-
mean, he has no control, actually, but he's playing these people like puppets. Just ding, 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 pulling those little marionette strings.
I love this character. Anyway, so Jack and them go to try to make do negotiation to like hand.
Yes,
Yeah.
and they meet that hillbilly guy again, right in the woods. Is this when they meet him?
No, they don't. They don't find anybody, but they find Michael.
Oh, yeah.
Unconscious.
Okay, so now he's back. I couldn't remember how he got back, but yeah, this freaking butthole's back.
Michael. 2 for the Road is the next episode. And then, yeah, so this is, let's just skip to the thing that matters here.
Yeah.
Because in 2 for the Road, Michael's back and
He's like, I gotta go find Walt.
I gotta go find Walt.
And they're
I'm
like,
trying to get
you're not
away.
well, you're not going anywhere. And he's like, okay, fine.
This is also the episode where Anna has sex with Sawyer to get the
The guns.
yeah. And then she goes back, she's in the hat, she's got a gun, and she's sitting outside the where Henry's being held, and Michael, she's kind of talking with Michael about it, and because she and Michael were in the same camp for a while, and she's like wants to kill him but says she can't do it because she killed that guy,
And it forever traumatized
and it
her.
traumatized her. She said I can't do it, and Michael says I'll do it.
I'll do it, yeah.
Right? Like
yeah.
they're animals and they would do it, right? And then
He says, bap! Gets her right in the chest. Right in the chest. But at least he says, I'm sorry first. I don't know. Shoots her right in the chest on the couch. And then, before that, Hurley finally asked Libby to go on a real date. And Saeed was like, there's a really nice sex beach, like 3 kilometers that way.
to take her on a picnic, he says.
Yeah.
He doesn't say sex beach.
Well, that's what it is.
Yeah.
And Hurley's like, well, how do you know about that? And Saeed's like, I took Shannon there. And he's like, oh, dude. So he, like, gets all the shit together. They're ready to go out on the picnic. And then Libby goes, like, did you bring the blankets? And Hurley's like, blankets? Because this is, like, his first date. He doesn't know. And she goes, yeah, we need blankets to sit on. She goes, I'll go back to the hatch and get them.
and
she
gets
does.
shot too.
And she comes around the corner just at the very moment that Michael had freaking shot Ana Lucia, and he bap bap gets her twice over the blankets. And I thought, like, obviously I was like, like, oh my god, just the whole thing. But I thought, like, oh, the blankets, maybe they, like, stopped, because she had them folded up on her chest.
And then after he kills her, he lets Henry out. He opens the door and then shoots himself in the shoulder.
Yeah, to make it look like
He got
freaking
yeah.
Henry did it. But I thought maybe because the blankets were folded up that it would, like, people get saved by freaking books and stuff. Like, those, you tell me those blankets couldn't slow those bullets down enough? But they didn't. They didn't. And so then freaking poor Hurley, he has to come and he tries to talk to her and he says, I'm sorry, I forgot the blankets. That poor baby. Oh, it was awful. And then she's like, Ana Lucia is dead. I mean, she is donezo. And Libby is suffering. So they take some of that heroin out of the armory and shoot her up like a doctor-assisted suicide. Well, I guess it's not a suicide because she didn't decide to do it herself, but anesthesia. It's like a morphine drip.
Yes.
Just kind of float on out or whatever. And they give her the heroin and then she wakes up for a second and she's like, Michael. And that's it. You're so close. You're so close to saying, like, Michael did it. You had to say 2 more words, and she just couldn't do it, and so she died. And now poor Hurley. My God. They did not... I'm pissed at the writers of Lost for doing that to him. There is no reason that they had to do that to him.
Yeah.
Let that man have some love. Bless him.
Well, the next couple of episodes are really just a setup for the finale. So, do you remember the finale?
Oh yeah. So Michael is, of course he's like, oh, Henry shot me, and we gotta get back out there. We gotta get my son, and I remember where they took me, and I can get you there, and whatever. So brother, what's his name? Desmond comes back. Desmond shows back up, and he's drunk as hell. He's so drunk, and he was on a boat.
Yeah.
And I guess he had tried to leave, and he can't leave the island or whatever. So, Jen, son, Saeed, and Jen, son, and Saeed get on the boat, and they're gonna like circumnavigate the island to get to the point where that little village of others is. And then Michael, Sawyer, Jack, Kate. Was anybody else there?
I think that's it.
Yeah, the main people. They're trekking, hauling ass across the island. And they're suspicious of Michael. Like the whole time. They're suspicious. And that he ends up telling them, once they get kind of close, it becomes evident that he's like led them into a trap. This is an ambush. And Jack's like, what the? Michael! And Michael's like, I had to do it for Walt. I had to get my son. And so they take everybody. The others take everybody. So they had told Saeed and them that they would like light a signal once they got there or whatever. So they see the black smoke. Saeed's like, it's go time. So they start going around. While all this is going down, we got Mr. Echo, Charlie, Desmond, and Locke in the hatch.
Yep.
Mr. Echo wants to fuck that computer up. He does not want to do the numbers anymore. He's like, we got to just see what happens. Locke, of course, is like, we're not doing any of that. We're putting in the numbers. Suck it. Like, whatever. And Desmond is just frantic the whole time. He's like, just nobody's listening to him. And then I wish I could better remember the sequence of events that happen, but they lock
Echo out.
Echo and Charlie are locked out. Desmond and Locke are inside where the computer is. Mm-hmm. Something happens. I can't remember what happens.
Locke's wanting to let the timer run out. Because now he doesn't think it's a thing.
Oh, that's right. Because of Henry.
Because of Henry.
Right.
Yeah,
so he's like, it's not real. And Desmond's like, brother, it's real. It is so real. Like, and Locke's like, you're lying to me just like everybody lies to me. Nobody ever tells me the truth. Nobody trusts me. We're letting it run out. So, Echo sets up like a blast with all that shitty dynamite that they got from the Black Rock and tries to blow the damn doors off. And it shoots this big fireball out. I still don't know if Charlie and Echo are alive. I'll tell you this right now. If Mr. Echo is dead, I'm not watching this show anymore. I love him. I do not want him to be dead. Charlie's whatever. I do not want Mr. Echo to be dead. I will not watch the rest of this show. I'm going to be so pissed. But anyway, their blast did not work. But Locke finds out too motherfucking late that the computer does indeed do something, and everything gets like magnetized, like everything's sucked into the walls. There's all this chaos happening, and then Desmond is like, this is it, this is my moment, this is what I'm here for. And so he crawls down in this hole that Saeed was down there once, and that's when I think the first time we saw Jack's little key necklace was like floating onto the wall, and so they understand that there's like huge magnets or something back there. So Desmond's crawling through there fast as hell. Everything, I mean, shaking, explosions, everything's all jacked up. And he goes like, I love you, Penny. And he puts that key in that thing and turns it. There was a huge explosion. Mm-hmm. So that shit is going on, and none of these other fools know about it. I don't know what's going on. Do
you remember the epilogue?
It was something to do with Desmond and his girlfriend, and he was gonna sail around the world.
Yeah, the epilogue is that there's these two dudes like in like some kind
Oh
of
yeah, it
polar
was the
climate.
guy. It was the army guy that was with Saeed that left him out in the desert that could friggin' speak Iranian.
No, what I'm trying to say is that there's two random guys.
Mm-hmm.
They're in a polar place or whatever, and they get suddenly a
they're like,
notification.
"What?
They're like, and they call Penny, and they say, "We think we found it."
Oh yeah, because she's been looking for him.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that happens, and then there's like.
Do you remember her last name?
No.
Okay.
It was relevant though. It was some kind of storybook thing, wasn't it?
No, it's Penny Widmore. Is her last name.
Widmore.
And the pregnancy test that Son took was from Widmore Industries.
How do you even remember that? What a detail. So she's got money, honey. Obviously, if she's got dudes out in Antarctica, set up out there, she obviously does. But there was a lot happened in that episode, man. It was a lot going on. We find out that Desmond was like, he used to have a partner, because when they found him in the hatch the first time, he was alone. And we find out he had a partner. It was that guy from the military that was left Saeed out there after they made him like kill his friend and all this. And he could speak Iranian, so he could have interrogated that guy himself. Iraqi. Desmond ends up accidentally killing that guy. He didn't kill him on purpose, but he had led Desmond to believe that there was like this insane contagion outside, and like if Desmond left the hatch, he was going to get like deathly ill. So the military guy was putting on this like hazmat suit, like every time he left all the time, but he would put on this full suit, taping his wrists and everything. And then one day Desmond just gets a wild hair and follows him out, and then he's like, "You lied to me." And the guy's like, "Yeah, I lied to you, idiot." And then he like ends up falling. And he's like, "Oh, you didn't think I knew you were tracking me? I knew you were behind me the whole time." He ends up falling, cracks his head. Desmond runs back to the hatch and is there until our people show up. But then Michael and them, they get to the little village. They've all got bags on their heads. The bags get taken off, and it's Henry and his little group of cronies. And he's like, "Oh, great, this worked out perfect. You brought, like, all of them. Awesome. Here's your son." And they bring Walt out, and they're like, "Here you go." And they give Walt and Michael that shitty boat that they had, when they shot Sawyer. And they're like, "You and your son, get on the boat and get the hell out of here. Goodbye." And so then, like, there's this yucky moment where all Sawyer, Kate, and Jack are like watching Michael drive off with Walt just into the sunset, and they're like, I don't
That's it.
think anything else happens. Yeah.
So is what Michael did justified?
Of course it was. We would do it for our kids, but I, as a viewer, don't like that. I don't want that to happen. I don't like that. But yeah, you would do whatever you have to do for your kid. They've had his son for forever. And then, there's a horrible, horrible moment. It's a flashback to when Michael was being held with the others, and they've got him it reminded me of Pocahontas when they've got John Smith tied up to that pole and they're beating his ass or whatever. So Michael is tied up, and they bring Walt in for like 10 seconds, and Walt is so scared, and he's like, "Please don't let him take me, Dad, don't let him take me." And I mean, Michael can't do anything but scream and cry. That if you were a parent and you experienced that moment with your child, hell itself could not stop you from doing whatever you had to do to get that baby back.
Yeah.
But I, as a viewer on this show, am very upset with Michael. I'm very upset with him.
So we're coming up on an hour. So let's get to the last comments that were left. Our messages in a bottle. Mm-hmm. Somebody did a really good Photoshop job. Greg did. Morgan,
Antifreeze.
I think it's time you staged an intervention for Joe's radiator coolant addiction. She did indeed. Although
Now you can't even see it.
you'll be happy to know it's exactly the same color as the one in the picture, and delicious.
And this little holder has got a place for his phone.
That's right.
It's very fancy. I think you said that already.
So Kira responded, "We were all thinking it." Okay. Yeah.
I've been telling him for so long.
And
It is not the move.
You literally said, "I've been telling him he looks like Annette."
Everybody laughs about it. You know, one time in the past 2 weeks, I got a gallon of water and took it into work with me because I just needed to drink more water. And they almost laughed me out of the office. They were like, "Are you serious? You look like a freaking weed smoker." I'm like, okay.
Weed smoker. You sure they didn't say stoner?
Have you done marijuana?
Have you been doing... Chris, is that a weed?
I'm calling the police.
Call the police. It's a Vine reference for anybody that... All right, so Greg, true to form. While it's not a bad episode, Fire and Water is one of the least liked by fans due to its unsubtle religious imagery, which is considered tacky. I agree. It's where Charlie sees Claire on the beach.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. I saved my baby. Yeah. And she's like Mary Magdalene or whatever.
We're sorry for our Australian accent.
I'm not sorry for it. I have to do it when I am talking about Claire.
They hit my baby.
I have to say baby.
Baby. It's the hit that gets me.
Hit.
They hit my baby. Joe, the reason why Charlie is getting these storylines is because Monaghan was active behind the scenes demanding them. This was around the time he started rubbing fellow cast members the wrong way, which is why it was so easy for him to play Dark Charlie. And Morgan,
Charlie.
Now you're seeing why Joe and I are not huge fans of the character.
Yeah. I mean, I'm with you. He's turned into a big butthole. But now he's blown up, so do we have to worry about him anymore? I don't know. We do. I can tell from that face. I swear to God, if Charlie makes it and not Mr. Echo, that's not going to be good.
That's like going to a restaurant and dropping your plate and like you manage to save the green beans but the steak is gone.
Yes, that's
like,
exactly what it's like. Yes.
Oh God, this is terrible.
Yeah.
I like green beans, but if you had a steak, you would want want a steak, right?
Yeah.
Joe, your detailed insight about Sawyer self-sabotaging whenever things go well for him is so on point and a key defining feature of his character arc.
It's almost like he's got a literary degree.
It is not any kind of psychological insight as much as just...
he just knows shit. He's very smart.
It's like... Thank you. It's just like, reading a book, looking for themes and patterns, and Sawyer definitely has a pattern. Absolutely.
He do. Bless that baby.
Joe, without spoiling anything, the theme for season 4 is season 5. Yeah, it is. So that's a joke. You'll understand that later.
Okay.
So again, we are sorry that we did it like this.
Sorry.
I'm gonna
there's a lot.
do my best for us to never have to recap more than like 2 episodes in a row.
It was so messy, and I know we missed. So Greg's gonna be like,
guys, right? Listen,
I'm sorry.
If you guys have specific things you want us to talk about and you comment it in the comment section,
we surely will.
We will go over it. I don't care how far back it was. Mm-hmm. So there's that. Yeah. But anyway, now that you've seen a whole 2 seasons, predictions for what's going on?
I mean, it's obviously some kind of government experiment. Is it some kind of psychological experiment like that Stanford prison experiment? Possibly. Because the others, something we didn't talk about, they're in friggin' costumes. They're in costumes. So, I don't think they are who they say they are. But they live in, like, yurts made out of mud and stuff. Or maybe, I don't know, maybe that's, like, part of their vibe. I don't know.
Man, part of what you just predicted was like a 4.
Yeah.
And part of it was like a 42. So, like, some of it's dead on and some of it is not accurate at all.
Well, I don't know. I mean, it's some kind of government experiment.
All right. Season 3. Mm-hmm. The theme of season 3 is the others. Okay?
Great.
So, what happens in episode 1?
Well, hopefully we go back to where friggin' Kate and Sawyer and Jack are on their knees on a dock and we figure out what the hell is going on with all that. And I want to know more about Ben, aka Henry, and I want to know about that mysterious black lady that was kind of, she was like the mouthpiece or whatever. Oh, she's not important. What the hell? And the hillbilly guy,
that mysterious lady, she was the psychiatrist at the end of Joker, that's interviewing him, and he says he wouldn't get it or whatever. And then
she's like, you think I was an other? I get it.
Yeah, I get it.
Yeah, I get it. And the hillbilly guy, like, and Alex, like, I want to know what her role is in all this. Is she in on it, or is she just a stolen child? Where are the babies?
You will learn all these things and more
in season 3.
as we now go and watch the first episode of season 3. Till next time.
See you in another life, brother.